Pokemon Tier List Episode 2, here we go! Hello my dear day owls and night monkeys, good morning and or evening, and welcome back for another video. I am so happy to have you all here. As you can see, this is the second part of a series I started a few months ago. No, I will not produce these any faster, so you just need a bit of patience. The rules of this tier list were explained in detail in part 1, so go watch that to understand each tier. I do not care that my voice quality sounded like me talking through a can. I will not repeat myself. Apart from that, I don't think I need to explain the rules of how a tier list works. And to be honest, you don't really need to understand my intent behind each tier, because, well, after all, it's basically a normal tier list from S to J tier. S to J. So without taking any further questions, let's take a look at this hot steaming pile of beauty. Okay, in comparison to last episode, this time around I won't be looking at the gender difference versions in detail. Because this time there actually are just gender difference versions here, and no other special Pokemon. Otherwise, let's take a look at the worst! Yeah. This tier's just empty, and well, my first game was Pokemon Soul Silver, so I feel justified in not hating anything in these games enough to put them here. Well, that was certainly the waste of a transition. By the way, can you hear my nose is very sniffling? I got a very bad cold when I started recording this, and well, I had the cold for like a week, and I didn't want to wait any longer to record this video, otherwise I don't know if I would have gotten it out by February, which I still haven't finished it. I still maybe not get it out by February, but I'm trying. I just hope it's not too obvious. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. Back to the video. Ah, would you look at that! A tier with actual content, even though it is just a single Pokemon. I still want to emphasize that I think that this here cow...
Oh, said Gordon, it's only a cow!
Definitely deserves to be down here all alone. And I think everyone who has played the Johto games can agree that there's a certain Miltank in particular which is responsible for most of its hate. And before I get flagged for being salty about losing to some gym leader and that being the only reason to put a Pokemon down here, I also need to say something else about Miltank. Having an annoying gym leader fight is not enough for me to hate it. I mean, it is, but for the sake of this video, I need to mention something else. It's the design, okay? Why are the others so pronounced, and why is it canon that the main character in every Pokemon can drink this thing's bodily fluids to yield more HP than a gosh darn science potion? Get that thing out of my sight. Whoa, would you look at that? Even more Pokemon than the last tier. If we continue going at this pace, I bet there might even be 4 whole Pokemon in the next one. But let's not get caught up with the future. I will have to deal with that soon enough. Anyway, in this tier I have these 2 Pinecones. Do you know their names? Did you also, like me, forget that these exist? Well, their names are Pineco and Fortress respectively. And wow, I really wish I'd never remember these. I don't know who thought, yeah, I think we need a Pokemon based on a Pinecone that evolves into a Pokemon that looks like a clam. Also, they need to be Bug and Steel type. Now, I did do at least enough research to know that they are bugs because they are based on bagworms, which apparently build a shell from like pine cones and stuff. However, even if that's the case, why not make their stupid things look even a little like bugs? And also, why does a bag beetle evolve into a clam with cannons? These two things don't even look like they're related. But you know, I could excuse all that if it wasn't for these two to be so damn ugly. I mean, look at them. They don't even have any interesting features. Their design of Pineko is literally just an ugly green pine cone, and Fortress looks like an asteroid clam that's been deformed by some red tumor. I just want to forget about them, okay? Can we please go on to the next tier now? Oh, good. I can already hear the transition music, so that means they're probably going to. Alright, so I'm pretty sure anyone who watches this and didn't watch the first part probably did not go back just to see me explain my own rules. So I'm just going to mention now that I am not going to actually talk about every Pokemon in every tier. I do plan on actually finishing this video, and if I actually comment something on every Pokemon, this will take forever. I could at that point just take a Sabathon year to finish this. So if I don't mention your favorite Pokemon, then I guess it just sucks to be you, I guess. Also, you could probably just assume my thoughts based on where I put the Pokemon in my tier list. It's nothing personal, okay? And if you ask nicely in the comments, I will probably tell you my thoughts in more detail. Anyway, enough lore explanation. Let's look at boring. I think most here are self-explanatory. I mean, they do all look very boring, don't they? Most here are just normal animals. And while I'm not offended by that, I think a good Pokemon has something that makes it stand out from the real-life counterpart. I mean, look at Noctowl. Aside from the fact that it has owl in its name and that it literally just looks like an owl, its Pokédex entries also just describe an owl. According to the Pokédex, Noctowl can fly silently, turn its head 180 degrees, and can see well in the dark. That's just an owl. Don't get me wrong, I like owls, but I feel like if a real owl were in the Pokemon universe, it would be at the bottom of the food chain if it had to compete with friggin' magical creatures that can bend the matter to their will, like Xatu. And I don't know if you noticed, but Xatu's also in the boring tier. Why? Because it is! Game Freak agrees with me here. They didn't even bother giving it a fly animation. So yeah, boring. Apart from those two, the only other really mentionable Pokemon here are the giraffe and the fish. The purple one. And the reindeer. Why are they noteworthy? Well, because they got evolutions later on, and that are kinda cool. Sadly, none of those evolutions are part of this generation. So yeah, until I reach Gen 8, these Pokemon will be known as evolutionless, boring animals. I want you to look at that, I hear music. Guess it's time for the next Oh boy, the tier that I feel almost nothing about. Emphasis on almost. I still feel enough pride for my choices and on what I put in this tier, to the point that I will chuck you into a bottomless pit, should you disagree with my choices. Anyway, let's get to the few mons that I actually care about enough to say something about them. First off, Natu. I did put its evolution in boring, so why is this little round bird not allowed to rot beneath the neutral tier? Well, I basically already mentioned it. It's a round boy. A really round boy. And thus it is obviously superior, even if just a little bit. Also, I can't go as harsh on pre-evolutions, considering any pre-evolution Pokemon has the added factor of looking like it could become something cool. And I think Natu has just that. I think Natu looks like it could turn into a beautiful green bird. To be honest, if it just turned to a bigger circle, it would be better than Xatu. So yeah, I think Natu looks like it could turn into something cooler. But I won't punish it for its evolution being boring. Anyway, let's move on to Slowking. Both the normal one and the Galar version. Galarian version? Galas version? I don't know. It's all the same to me. I think the Johto variant of Slowking loses one of its pre-evolution's strongest feature. Its dumb, cute, and lovable face. It just doesn't have that anymore, instead sporting a calm and tempered facial expression. And I just think that makes it not so good anymore. I mean, sure, the story behind its shell is cool, where it bit the head of a Slowpoke and thus activated the apparently locked away brain cells. The Slowpoke. Sure, that explains the sudden psychic powers it gains, but personally I prefer the Slowbro variant, which gains psychic powers, yet still looks dumb and lovable. Kinda same goes for the Galarian version. I guess it's kinda cooler thanks to the purple color, which is my favorite color. And I probably could have ranked it higher, but I'm also not really feeling that whole zombie vibe from the shell taking over and whatnot. So yeah, basically this thing ain't passing the vibe check. Moving on, we have Incognito. All the Incognito, in fact. Even the exclamation mark and question mark. And I could rank them all in a separate tier list. Which I did, but for the sake of the video, I'd much rather just say a sentence for each of the little letter boys. First letter, can't go wrong with it. Looks like an 8, can't take it seriously. Looks like a G that has been rotated and mirrored. That's a D. That's an E. I would say it would look like an F, but why is there this triangle? This one looks more like one of those dumbbells. TIE Fighter. That's an I. Fishhook to hook the G with. This one's just a peeper. Similar to F. Why is this little dongle there? Top of bear's head. That's an N. That's an O. Airport looking eye. A key. Specifically to my heart. Just a P again, but this time with a dick. As a German, this gives me flashbacks. Looks like an eye wearing a small T as a hat. Why does this one have 3 beams holding up the U? Oh, come on! They didn't even try with this one. It's G all over again. This one's a fork. That's on a map. This one's in York. That one is Cap. York runs a stork. And this is a wrap. Because now it's over. Where was I going with this? Anyway, was it worth it? No. But at least I did it. Now, the last one I want to mention before we leave this most inoffensive tier is Donphan. I actually like Donphan. But there's one thing I consider wrong enough with it that keeps it from going up. Why? Why is it only a meter tall? Game Freak, please, just give me a normal-sized elephant. Donphan didn't deserve this. I know there's one like Gen 8 or whatever, but that doesn't count. That's boring. I want a rolling elephant, a big When I Donphan, I always imagine that being a big rolling elephant. It's like a meter tall. It's too small. Come on, please. Give us some... whatever, just move on. Oh gosh, I also got to mention Dunsparce. I actually have the most important comment on that little thing, which is that Okay, so first in the like tier, we have Furret, and we have Furret in the like tier because I'm a fur. We have Furret, which is here because... Am I allowed to talk now? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So, I like Furret because... It's cute, okay? That's it! It's cute! Okay, so moving along. Next, we have Chinchou. For any person actually paying attention, we already saw its evolution on this list. Lantern was already spotted in the neutral tier, because to be honest, Lantern is only a mid-fish. Chinchou, on the other hand, oh boy, not only has he the superior name, but it also just looks better. Chinchou looks like an actually creative take on the anglerfish vibe with its body shape, the double angle light bulb thingies, and the very cool looking plus shaped eyes. Chinchou promises something. Lantern disappoints. It's just a fish. Its light bulbs are smaller and shorter. The body is now just a fish. And the eyes have gone from unique and memorable to basic, boring, and bone dry. Chinchou is superior. Chinchou is greater. Chinchou is alive. Anyway, let's see who I have something to say about now. Well, we have Marill and Azumarill, which are solid water Pikachu mouse copycats, with the added bonus that Azumarill looks like a Kinder Egg. Moving on, I will only lose a few words for the next few ones. Sudowoodo has a funny name, and also it genuinely surprised me when I first tried to cut it down, thinking it was a tree. Politoed is really swagger for bringing some new color into the Poliwag line. Quagsire looks very polite. However, if you take the greatness of its pre-evolution into account and the greatness of its cousin from Gen 9, Clodsire, Quagsire really can't compete above the like tier. Skipping over the few next ones, I know very sad for Wamafee, Espeon and Shuckle fans, but we get to Heracross. The only reason I mention Heracross is because I am currently, at the time of writing this, keeping Hornbeetle Lava. Look at them! Oh, they're not cute. Anyway, now we have some weird and also cool looking cat. Lava Slugs, a manta thingy, dog, bigger dog, fighter kid, dancing fighter, big lip child, kinda weird. And, oh yeah, we have Pupitar and Mega Tyranitar. Now, I think most people don't care about Pupitar, but I guess I gotta say something about Mega Tyranitar. Now, I know everybody loves Tyranitar, and don't get me wrong, I like it too, okay? It's just that I think this Mega Evolution in particular just kinda overdoes it. They saw Tyranitar and thought, yep, this thing needs more spikes, which I personally disagree with. It just looks so overbearing. I mean, it doesn't look like Tyranitar itself can really move all that much anymore. I prefer the original, although I also have a very certain problem with that. Both the original and this one. But I will not elaborate on that just now. Lastly, I must say that I do think the red parts of the Mega look radical. A tier I created because I'm too bitchy to put any of these in any other tier. Let's get to it, shall we? With a bit of deductive thinking and using your eyes, it becomes obvious that these two here are actually the lowest rated starters. Yet they are still in the like more tier, which I reckon is better than the performance of the starters in my first tier list. And I need to make it clear that I'm not hating on the alligator line. Not at all. It's just that I don't really feel like I can put those in the same tier as the other ones. And even though they are probably the best out of this tier, I can't really make another tier just for these two here. Not even I am that stingy. Can't really put them in a Q tier either, cause whoa, that alligator Butte is way too dangerous for any cute classification cast. But let's not get hung up on that, even it's hard to move on from those cheats. Next, there's Crobat and Steelix. They actually have the same reason to be in this tier. Both are this high up because I think they are really cool evolutions from otherwise not very good evolution lines. I do not express joy when seeing Onix or Zubat, but I do when seeing Steelix and Crobat. Also, it's very cute that Crobat needs high friendship to evolve, which means that Cyrus actually did love his Pokemon, and was just an edgy boy instead of an actual psychopath. Aww. Although I am also not much to speak if you take into consideration that the sole reason Umbreon is higher than Espeon is because of that little edge in me. Blissey! Who doesn't like Blissey? It gives you an egg if you're hurt, and it has a fishing high health pool. 3 legendary cats! They're cats, not dogs. Cats, get over it. Anyway, I always really loved the concept of these Pokemon wandering around the region, and during your journey, you would sometimes out of nowhere hear the special battle music and think, oh my Darwin, is it what I think it is? And yes it is. It's a cool looking cat, legendary. And personally, I really miss the wandering Pokemon mechanic in the open world games. I think it would be really cool to just sometimes see like these Pokemon wandering around the region, and you would need to use the Pokemon Legends approach of slowly, stealthily approaching them from behind, so you get a chance to fight them and catch them before they flee, and you need to find them again. And if it were an open world, you could also include hints like scratch marks or footprints or something you could follow them and actually go hunting for them. But I guess just having legendaries be stationary on some random place on the map is just as good, I guess. Okay, I got caught up on that way too much. Just remember that I like them and they give me the nostalgia jingle and whatnot. What do we have next? Yeah, the original Tyranta. I did mention there was one thing that really rubs me the wrong way about this thing. It is at this point very dear to me, a factor that is unignorable and most importantly kinda whiny at this point. It's height! I know, I have whined about Pokemon height so often it's barely funny anymore. But please explain to me, how is this dinosaur that can make the earth tremble a monster that is literally described as knocking down mountains and burying rivers in a rampage? Only 20 centimeters taller than the average man in Europe! Why are the humans that are bigger than this thing? It's too small! And its mega is only barely better. Finally, Ho-Oh is here because nostalgia, but not enough nostalgia because I played Soul Silver. Okay, this video seems to be way too long already, so I'm gonna keep this one short by rhyming it all. Totodile small and blue, Cleffa ain't got a clue why she's so cute. Igglybuff's roundness, no one needs profoundness to see why it's here in this cute called tier. Togepi's next on the list along with its sibling, together they're chilling, enjoying their time with both of their faces cutely existing. What's that over there? You feel fluff in the air. We got Mareep and Flaffy being all sassy, but they ain't the last cute beings coming this season. There's Blossom and Sunkern, two plant type fan pleasers. But one must come to reason, to accept, to see that Wooper and Wooper stole the show this nice evening. From Ice Punch Blue to Muddy Brown, next we have Swinub to go on. To go on and on about its nice fluff fur, it is indeed very different to the corals that some might prefer. No matter if dead or alive, they belong in the same tier, where they can all thrive. But please, don't drink beer. Now last but not least, we got a fan favorite beast, something that our eyes must feast on. That is the one and only Larvitarist. Love is in the air, especially because I'm writing this just a few days before Valentine's Day. So yeah, we got Chikorita, Bayleaf, and Meganium. Why do I like them so much? Well, that's easy. They're plant dinosaurs. Okay, maybe I owe more of an explanation for someone in the love tier. Back when I first played Pokemon Soul Silver for the first time, I might have not known how the save feature worked. Each time I had to stop playing, or I willingly turned off my DS, my game would reset. Well, I actually need to say our game, because I was sharing it with my older brother, who, mind you, is 3 years older than me, and also didn't know how to save, so I'm blaming him. Apart from that, however, I remember picking this starter the second most times we replayed the game. Also, when we learned how to save, we also restarted the game multiple times if I remember correctly, because it's just so fun. Also, during the Christmas season, either the year we got the game for Christmas or the one after it, my brother and I each got a Chikorita figurine in our advent calendar, which were like the figurines that you could get out of the small plastic Pokeballs that you could buy back in the day. I haven't been in a toy shop in a while. Do they still sell these? Anyway, time to go on. Go on with Pichu, that is. I always liked Pichu more than Pikachu, even before I started to dislike Pikachu for being popular. Pichu is just so much cuter. And in addition to that, Pichu also has the messy ear hair version, whose name I am too lazy to look up right now. And I just remember watching videos of people showing how to use that Pichu to get the Pikachu colored Pichu in Soul Silver and Heart Gold. And I always wanted to somehow get both of them. But sadly our DS never got to have an internet connection, and so alas, here I am, still dreaming about getting fuzzy ear Pichu someday. And someday I will. But to finish up this here love tier, we have Lugia, the legendary beast from my first game, and here it finally is in all its glory. Just thinking back to the Shrine Maidens doing their dance to summon it from the waterfall gives me the shivers. Truly magic. Oh, would you look at that? We're at the end already. And wasn't it fun until now? If you have disagreed with everything or anything on my tier list until now and are screaming at me for having the wrong rankings, you probably will disagree with me on this tier especially. But as with everything I am right about, these rankings included, I will go on and show you the truth. But jokes aside, the mons in here will probably need a good explanation for being ranked above all the other great Pokemon in Johto. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm actually able to convey my feelings accurately, but I will do my best. All I ask is that you see this for what it is. The crazed ramblings of a very good looking person on the internet. Now please put your hands together for Hoppip. I can explain. Maybe. I can try to explain how I see this Pokemon. Hoppip was one of the actual first Pokemon I saw and thought were cute. And I think the saying first impressions last a lifetime really comes into play here. While these Pokemon can be encountered not at the direct beginning of the game, they can be found after the first gym. And for some reason, I still remember that route so clearly in my head. Without looking it up, I wrote down some notes about how the route looked, and they were quite close to reality. I wrote, route with several hills on it, starts out as an inland route, turns into waterside route, part of the route is in the water. Just before water, there's a hill with grass around it in which I found Hoppip for the first time. Now, these points don't seem all that special. You might even say you remembered some road even better than I did. But for me, this feeling is special. Seeing Hoppip reminds me of that time back in the day where I had no real worries. A time where my biggest problem was that my brother killed Snorlax and Moltres in our first playthrough. Yes, I still didn't forget. A time where every new Pokemon was special to me, and Hoppip ticks all the boxes. All this goes for the rest of the line. I just don't want to repeat myself 3 times. Before I get more sentimental over these pollen-carrying nostalgia bombs, let's move on to even more nostalgia. Cyndaquil, the last starter line, and it's his Hisuian counterpart. But to stay with the original version first. This starter is the one I finished Soul Silver with. The starter with whom I used the Elite Four to wipe the floor. The first starter, the first Pokemon even, that I ever managed to train to level 100. Cyndaquil wasn't just a starter for me, it was the starter for me, and it was the one I chose to finish Soul Silver with. Remember, I restarted that game like 5 times or something, probably more often, because I was too much of an idiot to figure out how saving existed. But after finally learning how saving worked, I chose Cyndaquil. I chose Quilaf. I chose Typhlosion. And I never regretted it. Adding to that, the Hisuian version is basically an edgy ghost version of Typhlosion. So of course, it wouldn't rank any lower in case anybody cares. And now we are at the final Pokemon. The one that we have wasted all this time getting to. And I know I'm building this up, but I just want to say that this does not mean I rank it above any other Pokemon in this tier. And without losing even more time to explanation, I can finally unravel the time-traveling Celebi. To anyone paying attention, this can't really be a surprise, considering it's the last one left in the Johto games. Anyway, this time-traveling green alien onion has certainly been living in my memories for a long time. Our DS never had any internet connection, so I only ever saw Celebi in YouTube videos showing how to activate its event, and for me, Celebi truly personified the definition of mystical. A whimsy and cute looking forest pixie that can travel back in time? Which activates an event in which you can fight against Giovanni and change the future? Don't make me laugh, there's no way that actually exists in the games! But oh boy, it sure did. And all of these feelings came swelling back up when I found out that there's an exploit with which you can get the event Pokemon from Gen 4 in 5 games even today. And you better believe I immediately stopped whatever I was doing when I found that out and tried to replicate it. Lo and behold, a Celebi. In my modern save. This made me happy. It truly did, finally. Finally fulfilling the dream of a small dragon that never knew that internet events were a thing on the DS at all. That small dragon might have turned into a reasonably sized me-shaped dragon, but you better believe me when I say that when I see the Celebi, I turn into that 7-year-old again. Thank you for watching this emotional rollercoaster of a tier list video. It was quite fun to make, and I hope you at least enjoyed it a little bit. For everyone that disagrees with me on anything, tell me in the comments, so that I and everybody else can laugh at you and your stupid opinion.